Is there a dog food for you, or should you just home cook? This is a question that I get a decent amount of the time. So every doctor has their own personal preference and different opinions, as does every client. And some of that just depends who you were trained by, what your experience is with it, what have you seen, good, bad, and ugly. And then on the client side, what have they researched? Have they followed people's videos, this, that? What are their opinions? Everybody has them, and there are a lot of different opinions. Um, a lot of doctors can have the exact same problem and go about it in different ways, both on the human side, animal side, lots of sides. Once again, there's just a lot of factors that go into this answer. So have an open mind, and there's a lot of ways to go. So it's a good question. I do get that question a little bit more than what I used to. Do I think there is some legitimate value in the question and there's some real stuff behind it? Yes. Do I have all those answers? No, I don't. Nutrition specifically is not one of my specific interests, but it is a bigger growing topic. And I do think on the human side, they are learning so much about diet and how that influences the body and affects the body. That's not really a new concept, but I think more and more people are becoming more aware of it as over time. I'll pick on America. America's food chain has been polluted or toxins and this and that. And our quality of food is things that we eat in the US are not allowed in other countries. And if that's true on the human side, I'm sure there is some validity on the animal and veterinary side. With that being said, I do think our pets and our pet foods are probably much healthier than what we humans generally eat. They don't generally get to go to the fast food and eat the grease and the GMO this, and then go get more fried this, and then all the sugary drinks and the carbonated drinks, Coke, Pepsi, sugar-free things. There's Red Bulls. There's a lot of different foods that we humans ingest on a daily basis, including candy and sugar beets that come from that. The fields are sprayed with Roundup to keep the weeds down, but sugar beets absorb that poison because they absorb stuff in the soil. Then they manufacture that sugar and put it in pretty much all of our foods. And then we eat it and rinse, repeat. So once again, this is a rabbit hole for a lot of people and a lot of ways to go. And there's just so many different things. And I do believe there is some legitimacy to good, healthy ingredients. Not Papa John's, but we'll steal their slogan a little bit. Better ingredients, better output. Another way of wording that is garbage in, garbage out. Not a new concept. Everybody knows this. But given that we've developed a lot more diseases in the past decade and seeing increases in sugar in our food supply and the correlations, I do believe this is a legitimate factor and matters. I have also had lots of clients tell me their personal experiences with kids with autism or different mental diseases, and they get really serious about changing the diet and what's going in the diet, and they've had miracles be performed. So I'm sure there was lots of prayer that went in behind that as well. Once again, I think there is a lot behind it. I just don't know all the details because there's so much information, so much marketing going on behind what's real, what's not, what gets manipulated legally versus ethically. Once again, large rabbit hole. So where I'm headed with this is most over-the-counter foods are good. I'm not a big fan of grain-free. There were some brands that I used to have lots of issues with, nutritional specialists and other colleagues across the country saw consistent problems. That big one kind of being Blue Buffalo, Taste of the Wild, Blue Diamond. In their defense, they got bought out a few years ago, and I have not seen near as many problems with those specific manufacturers as I used to. But my point being, they had great marketing, great advertising. When you go to the stores, one of the most expensive foods you can buy. The general concept is the more expensive it is, the better it is. There for years, that was not the case that many veterinarians saw or their opinions. Just an example. So for those owners that are interested in home cooked diets, if you got the time and the money to do it, absolutely go for it. I would say try and do it correctly. It is very easy to not have a balanced diet, and ideally you do consult with a veterinary nutritionist and kind of go through that because the macro and micronutrients do matter over time. Some of those problems that develop if unmanaged, if inappropriately managed, do cause irreversible effects by the time we can identify them. So you shouldn't be feeding the same home cooked food every day if you're going that direction. But I don't know enough about it to be specific on do this, do that on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I just need to refer you out for that. Now, I do have an alternative for you that some other colleagues pointed out, and I had never thought of it before. But there are foods out there that do have the best quality ingredients. They are very tight control, and a lot of them have actually had dozens, and some of these even a couple hundred studies performed on them. These foods are not typically over the counter is the trade-off. A lot of those foods are actually prescription foods. And there are a lot of prescription foods for a lot of specific problems, from GI to urinary. There's actually some liver ones, there are some heart ones. I have different opinions depending on which one we're referring to. I'm sure every veterinarian does that uses them as well. But for those clients that are like, yeah, I don't have the time to do home cooked, even if they can afford it, sometimes a prescription food might be the best way to go. They have some of the best ingredients, they have a lot of PCR studies, they have a lot of controls, and a lot of veterinarians over time have challenged those diets and run independent tests and studies. And when you're paying a premium for a prescription food, you do expect the best. It is also usually more expensive than some of these over the counters. But the way things are going right now, they might just be like 10 bucks more than some of these other over the counters. And you know you've had dozens, if not a couple hundred studies validating what they say is in it, and no extras. A lot of over the counters have a lot of cross contaminations in those manufacturing grinders and things like that. So it's a roundabout way for me to get there, but this is not a cut and dry topic. It's not for everybody. It is for some patients, and there's a lot of other exciting updating medicine coming that I've been seeing more and more about it, but we'll save that for another video. Thanks again, guys.